advised.
We're working to connect a region of over 600 bridges between our lands.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles. Welcome to ASEAN in Focus. We're coming to you live from Manila in Thailand. Hello, Esther.
Hi, Alma. I'm Esther Odanga from EBC Thailand Bureau, bringing you the news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines, President Duterte has instructed Solicitor General Jose Calida to pen a letter addressed to the Commission on Audit Chair Michael Aguinaldo, requesting the finances of the Philippine Red Cross to be audited.
The International Criminal Court, or ICC, has given clearance to proceed with the investigation of President Duterte in connection with the killings in Davao when he was mayor, and those in the war on drugs on his first 3 years as chief executive.
France and the United Kingdom are seeking the support of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, to protect at least 30% of the world's terrestrial and marine habitat by 2030 amid the unprecedented rate of biodiversity loss facing the planet.
Visitors flocked to the Malaysian island of Langkawi Thursday as it became the country's first holiday hotspot to reopen after a coronavirus lockdown that has hampered the vital tourism industry.
First, here in the country, President Duterte has instructed Solicitor General Jose Calida to pen a letter addressed to the Commission on Audit Chair Michael Aguinaldo, requesting the finances of the Philippine Red Cross to be audited. The PRC is headed by Senator Richard Gordon, chair of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, which is probing the government's use of COVID-19 pandemic funds. Let's listen in.
Ang chairman is a despot. He does not allow anybody to answer, and he cuts the testimony of even the COA. Nakinig man ako, ano klaseng tao ito? And he talks and talks and talks. He cannot help but open his mouth. He is a pathological storyteller. Si Gordon. Hinintay ko lang, the next step would be really be the letter to be delivered to the COA by Solicitor General Calida regarding my request to audit the Red Cross.
Ang masasabi ko lang po is wala po sa COA report ng PSDBM ang statement na may overpricing po. There's no statement to that. The observations related more to inventory management than overpricing. So hindi po tama na sabihin ang COA ang nagsabi na may overprice kasi wala pong sinabi yon doon sa report. Anyway, nandito po kami to be able to provide clarification to any of the questions the committee members may ask. Magandang umaga po.
Tama na. Ayun. Yun si COA. That was the chairman of the Commission on Audit. Sinabi niya, ano pa bang gusto ninyo? Senators, I'm asking you. He said, I do not want to fight with you. But what else do you want? Yung parmalin, bahala kayo.
Now, the president said he would allow Health Secretary Francisco Duque III to still keep attending the Senate probes to just tell the plain truth. He earlier asked his cabinet officials to get his consent before showing up at Senate inquiries.
The International Criminal Court, or ICC, has given clearance to proceed with the investigation of President Duterte in connection with the killings in Davao when he was mayor, and those in the war on drugs in his first 3 years as chief executive. However, Malacanang Palace described the move announced late Wednesday night as politically motivated. Malacanang said President Duterte remains unfazed by the latest move of the International Criminal Court. Let's take a look.
Wala pong reaksyon ng presidente dahil sa mulat-mula niya, sinasabi niya na siya ay mamamatay muna bago siya haharap sa mga dayuhang mga West. No? Kung merong reklamo, dapat dito sa isampa sa Pilipinas dahil ang ating mga hukuman ay gumagana. No? At ang korte ng ICC ay walang jurisdiksyon, pwede lang siyang akto sa mga kaso kung ang mga hukuman natin ay hindi gumagana o di naman kaya ay yung tinatawag na unwilling na magkaroon ng jurisdiksyon sa mga kaso na pinapatawa ng parusa, hindi lang po ng wrong statute, kung hindi po ng ating batas sa Pilipinas na tinatawag na IHL. So sa kanya, bahala sila kung anong gusto nilang gawin. Dahil nagkaroon na nga po ng desisyon ang pre-trial chamber mismo ng ICC na nagsasabi na wag na dapat itutuloy ang mga investigasyon na wala namang possibility na magkakaroon ng successful na prosecution. Dahil yan po ay pagsayang lamang ng oras at ng resources ng ICC mismo. Ang paninindigan ng Presidente, lahat ng gusto magreklamo, bukas po ang ating mga hukuman sa Pilipinas. At nung tayo po ay naging partido sa Tratado ng Roma, hindi po natin sinurrender ang ating soberenya at ang ating jurisdiksyon. Ang sabi lang natin po, pwede lang gumalaw ang korte kung wala po tayong hukuman na magbibigay ng katarungan. At meron naman po tayong mga hukuman dito ngayon.
In other news, visitors have flocked to the Malaysian island of Langkawi as it became the country's first holiday hotspot to reopen after a coronavirus lockdown that has hammered the vital tourism industry.
But it's the first time since December that I'm leaving KL and traveling in Malaysia. And there's just so much nice places to explore in Malaysia. So we are now it's Langkawi, we hope to be able to travel into states soon again. No, but I mean, all of us traveling are vaccinated. So I have no concerns. I just hope that I think Malaysia has done a good job picking up on the vaccination. So I'm vaccinated and so are all my fellow passengers. So I feel very safe.
And people, don't worry, just come to Langkawi. There's nothing to be afraid of because a lot of people asking me, you're not afraid to be in a plane. What's different? If you go to office also, there are people around you. So to me, no difference. And I felt like for the past, I don't know how many months, countless months already, I feel like I'm going to go mental also soon. So I feel very, very excited. I'm super, super happy. And I'm thankful that the government is so open about it that we can come and travel.
We're very excited because we haven't been anywhere since February of 2020. So it's real exciting for us to be here and to actually have the kids leave the house. It's been under a lot of restrictions, so we're excited. Excellent. I think the hospitality with Malaysian Holiday Airlines, they did an amazing job with customer service and helping me through it. I mean, we're a family of 6, so I think they really helped us through the whole process between the saliva test and getting us through security and checking and stuff. It was fantastic, so it was really easy.
With the outbreak gradually easing, Langkawi, one of tropical Malaysia's premier holiday destinations, has been chosen for a pilot project to reopen the sector to domestic tourists. The island began welcoming visitors on Thursday with water cannons firing over the first plane to land at its airport.
Picking up on the vaccination, so I'm vaccinated and so are all my fellow passengers. So I feel that.
In a related news, businesses on the Malaysian holiday island of Langkawi welcomed the reopening of the vacation hotspot as the destination was reopened to domestic travel on Thursday. Restrictions on local travel had been in place for months, and international borders remain largely closed as Malaysia battles its worst COVID-19 wave. Take a look.
I'm totally overjoyed. It gives us an opportunity to start working again. And I think the whole island, especially the tourism sector, they are all very happy. So when we were in shutdowns all this time, the local community of Langkawi overall, the businesses, the people, everyone was badly affected, very badly affected.
We're absolutely hopeful, and our ladies and gentlemen are so ready and so excited. In fact, today, many of them wearing traditional outfits because there's Malaysia Day on top of it. And what is not a better day to start this travel bubble? It offers a main chance of recovery. Yes, and hopefully the pilot project of the travel bubble is able to bring more business into Malaysia as a country, as well as soon hopefully open other destinations and the much looked forward to international market.
Langkawi welcomed around 3.9 million visitors in 2019, with the number falling dramatically since the pandemic began. If the island's tourism bubble is a success, then other holiday destinations are expected to reopen soon. Neighboring Thailand has reopened several islands, including Phuket, to vaccinated foreign tourists. Malaysia imposed a nationwide lockdown in June as the highly contagious Delta variant sparked in a surge in infections and has now logged more than 2 million cases and over 22,000 deaths. But authorities have started easing curbs in recent weeks as the outbreak slows and the vaccine rollout picks up speed, with over half the population now fully inoculated.
Meanwhile, Vietnam is considering 933 million tax break to boost and jumpstart to speed up its economic recovery. Micah Guineta-Pastol joins us live. Hello, Micah.
Hello, Alma. Here's the latest news from VN Express International. 21.3 trillion Vietnam dong, or 932.66 USD, is the tax break being considered by the government, including value-added and corporate income tax. This is to boost economic recovery after the fourth wave of coronavirus. The National Assembly is recognizing the government's proposal to decrease VAT by 30% in the last 3 months this year. Sectors set to be permitted for the tax break include transportation, accommodation, food and beverage, publishing, filmmaking, music production, entertainment, and sports. Vietnam applies a VAT of 10% on the price of most goods and 15% on luxury items. The government suggested that individual and household businesses be allowed for zero personal income tax, VAT, and other taxes in the third and fourth quarter this year. They also wanted to remove collecting fines and delays from paying taxes and land fees from businesses that had reported losses last year. Together, these proposals are set to bring down government revenue by 21.3 trillion Vietnam dong. Back to you, Alma.
Thank you very much, Micah, for your update. Looking forward for more. Have a great weekend. Safe weekend as well.
Thank you so much, Alma. Likewise, reporting live from Da Nang, Vietnam. This is Micah Guineta-Pastol. We live in interesting times.
Now, going back to the Philippines, the country is expecting to receive the first batch of government-procured 1 million doses of one-shot Sputnik Light COVID-19 vaccine this month and another 190,000 doses of Sputnik V component to National Task Force Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer and Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. said on Friday. In a news release, Galvez said Sputnik Light, a variation of the two-dose Sputnik V jab, could hasten the country's vaccination drive towards achieving population protection by the end of the year. The Food and Drug Administration approved in August the emergency use authorization of Sputnik Light from Russia. Galvez also allayed the concerns of those who have received their first dose of Sputnik V but yet to get the second shot. He said, and I quote, "As per our vaccine experts from the Department of Health, the gap between first and second doses of Sputnik V can be as long as 6 months, so no need to worry because the vaccines are arriving soon," unquote. Over 39 million doses are expected to arrive this September, with 5,647,020 doses already delivered to the country from September 1 to 15.
Meanwhile, students and teachers in Phnom Penh return to classrooms as schools reopen in areas deemed at low risk of COVID-19. Take a look.
និយាយទៅទោះបីនៅកំឡុងពេលហ្នឹងគាត់រដ្ឋាភិបាលបានអនុញ្ញាតឲ្យយើងចូលសាលាវិញយើងបានចូលជុំមិត្តភ័ក្តិក៏ពិតមែនតែយើងនៅតែរក្សាគម្លាតពីគ្នាអញ្ចឹងព្រោះអីយើងឃើញថា COVID នេះគឺអត់ទាន់បាត់ 100% ទេអញ្ចឹងយើងនៅតែការពារទាំងអស់គ្នាដដែល
បាទយើងបើកតែថ្នាក់ដែលប្រឡងសម្រាប់ថ្នាក់ទី 12 និងថ្នាក់ទី 9 បាទហើយនៅក្នុងនោះគឺយើងមានចែកជាមួយថ្នាក់គឺ 15 នាក់
Cambodian schools have been closed nationwide since late February when the Southeast Asian kingdom was hit by a COVID-19 outbreak that was first detected among its Chinese expatriate community. The country has vaccinated more than 97% of over 18s and more than 80% of children over the age of 12.
In other news, migrant workers visited Singapore's Little India neighborhood Wednesday after more than a year of being confined to their dormitories as authorities ease coronavirus curbs. Take a look.
I feel now okay because I'm so long never come out because room always very boring. So I buy something, okay, of course I'm very happy. Today I buy something, just see my friends, buy something, go to take dinner, or buy something that will pray moose. That almost finish, I'm going back my home. Of course outside because I very long cannot go out. Of course outside, sometimes I'm not feeling well.
So we are now more than 90% of workers being vaccinated in the dormitories, and together with the high vaccination rate in the community, I think this allow us the opportunity to do this pilot today.
The workers have largely been restricted to traveling between their places of residence and work since April last year, after their cramped dorms became the center of Singapore's initial virus outbreak. The curbs imposed on the mostly South Asian workers have been far stricter than those faced by most other people in prosperous city-states. Under a pilot program run by the government, up to 500 vaccinated workers are now allowed to visit selected locations in 6 hours each week.
The government shifts to community quarantine policy in Metro Manila. Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez said the new policy aims to bring back more business activities and jobs gradually and safely amid the threats of the Delta variant. In a palace briefing, Lopez said about 180 million pesos per week in revenue will be restored in the economy with the new community quarantine policy in place.
We've been saying na 2+ million ang nandito po sa sectors na ito. But if you consider Metro Manila, more or less mga close to 1/2, they account for 1/2. And if you look at yung operations nila, yung outdoor alfresco only account for about 10%. Yung indoor 90%. Now since ang outdoor inallow natin 30%, so you apply 30% of 10% is 3%. Yung indoor naman po open ng 10%, 10% of 90% is 9%. So a total of 3 plus 9, 12% of business. Now you apply that in terms of revenue per week. Ang revenue per week po sa estimate po ng industriya, 1.5 billion per week. So applying 12% of that, mga 180 million pesos per week ang hopefully maibalik. Not much, but at least meron na hong makapag-restart on these sectors. And then sa trabaho po, yung 1.2 million na estimate po natin, 12% of, sa NCR lang po yan, 12% of that, mga 144,000 jobs. Plus, we have to add yung mga informal sector, yung not registered. Sabihin mo na 150 to 200,000, at least ang makabalik sa trabaho na ngayon ay walang trabaho. So it's really focused on these labor-intensive jobs. Kaya yun po ang dahilan kung bakit nauna itong mga necessary basic services.
Now, there will be 5 alert levels in the new policy, and these will be implemented by city or municipality and not by province or region. However, Metro Manila mayors have agreed to have a uniform alert level of Alert Level 4 for the pilot testing of the new policy. Alert Level 4 is equivalent to the current modified enhanced community quarantine, or MECQ, according to Lopez. Outdoor dine-in services will be allowed at 30% capacity for both vaccinated and unvaccinated people, and indoor dine-in at 10% only for vaccinated customers. Same classification and capacity will be applied for personal care services. Lopez said there are over 2 million workers employed in restaurants and personal care services. And the news continues here on Eagle News. We'll be right back.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration to update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders to help you discover valuable insights. Sharpen your instincts for smart decision-making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation, social entrepreneurship, and other leading-edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business, from vision to action.
Ang trabaho naman talaga ng maritime group ng PNP is to enforce the maritime
Tayo
laws.
lang yung stricto, pero in other parts of the country, pwede na naman ang tourism.
Definitely, we are ready to respond to a possible spike.
Sapagkat ang aming intensyon ay makatulong lang sa mga tao na wala talagang magamit na gamot.
92 voted for this resolution, which will make it stronger, calling on the Justice Department to come up with more stringent ways to be able to avert these hate crimes against Asian Americans.
Mas marami po tayong magagamit ngayon na mga tools or mga equipment.
Maraming salamat, Weng, at sa buong puwersa ng Balitalakayan sa pagkakataong ito.
Tatalakayin ang mga pangunahing balita live sa teleradyo ng Net25 at Radyo Aguila DCEC 1062. Kasama si Weng de la Fuente sa...
At itong Balitalakayan, we live in interesting times.
Welcome back. China hands over to Cambodia a $150 million stadium in Phnom Penh, while officials saying it is the result of Beijing's biggest ever infrastructure grant to the country. The presentation of the arena, intended as the main venue when Cambodia hosts the Southeast Asian or SEA Games in 2023, is made by China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi on a visit. Take a look. Cambodia's Tourism Minister Thong Khon said the $150 million stadium represented China's largest ever grant to Cambodia for an infrastructure project. Located in Cambodia's capital, the Morodok Techno National Stadium resembles a sailing ship, symbolizing the two nations' long-standing friendship as Chinese people used to travel to Cambodia by boat. During Wang Yi's visit, Hun Sen said Cambodia and China also signed several new deals in which Beijing promised a total of $250 million for the country's development projects. Wang Yi later pledged to countries supporting Cambodia's infrastructure and expansion. He added China had never set political conditions in its cooperation with Cambodia. Cambodia has long been a staunch Beijing ally, receiving billions of dollars in soft loans and investment. China has also supplied Phnom Penh with nearly 28 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines, including a donation of 4.3 million jobs.
Meanwhile, Thailand reopens or plans to reopen Bangkok to fully vaccinated visitors in October as the kingdom seeks to salvage a tourism industry hammered by the pandemic. Now, the Tourism Authority of Thailand said that from October 1, fully jabbed foreign travelers will be able to visit Bangkok and 4 other provinces without undergoing 2 weeks hotel quarantine. Instead, the 5 areas, also including Chiang Mai, Chonburi, Phetchaburi, and Pachuap-Khirikan provinces, are expected to follow a sandbox model of the type piloted since July in the holiday island of Phuket. Under the sandbox scheme, tourists have to stay within a certain area for 7 days after arrival and take COVID tests. Later in October, 21 more destinations will be added to the list, including Chiang Rai, Sukhothai, and popular seaside getaway Rayong. One cloud hanging over Thailand's tourism revival plans, though, is the travel advice of other countries, discouraging would-be tourists from visiting. Britain and the United States have warned against travel to Thailand because of rising case numbers and low vaccination rates.
Staying in Thailand, Thai lawmakers on Thursday gave an initial approval to a law against torture and forced disappearances after years of delay and criticism from rights groups. Activists have long accused authorities of state-sanctioned abductions and torture, and the UN says there have been more than 80 disappearances since 1980. The kingdom's criminal code does not currently recognize the offenses, but Rouge state officials convicted under new legislation will face long prison terms. On Thursday, the draft law passed a first reading in Parliament, though it is not clear when lawmakers will take up again or when it will finally come into effect. This is considered as an initial success after we waited for a year and a half for the draft bill. Opposition Move Forward Party MP Rangsiman Rome told local media. The legislation has been in long coming. The cabinet approved the changes in 2016 and bills languished for years on parliamentary agenda. 9 Thai citizens have disappeared in neighboring countries since a military coup in 2014, including those bodies were dumped in the Mekong River after they were abducted in Laos in 2018. Thailand signed a UN Convention on Enforced Disappearances in 2012, but has yet to ratify the treaty.
Kick-flipping Thai skateboarders are flipping the bird at authorities, joining pro-democracy rallies in Bangkok to vent their anger over a lack of respect and dedicated public space for extreme sports in the kingdom. A youth-led pro-democracy movement kicked off in Thailand in July last year, demanding reforms to the monarchy, a rewrite of the military-scripted constitution, and the resignation of Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha. Again, let's take a look.
สนามฟุตบอลเนี่ยมีเกือบเลยแต่ในประเทศไทยเนี่ยสเก็ตเนี่ยต้องแบบไปแอบเล่นอยู่ใต้ทางด่วนแอบสร้างอุปกรณ์กันเองเล่นที่ไหนก็ไม่ได้ไถบนฟุตบาทก็ไม่ได้โดนด่าไปไหนก็แบบเสียงดังจังบูลลี่อะไรเนี่ยครับแล้วมันก็เลยแบบเกิดความสงสัยที่แบบเกิดอะไรขึ้นกับประเทศไทย
ที่เราออกมาตรงนี้ก็เพราะว่าเราไม่ต้องการรัฐบาลชุดนี้โดยการที่เราจับเป็นกีฬาประเภทชนิดนี้ออกมาเพื่อเรียกร้อง
In other news, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP announced on Thursday that it has received a grant from the Agence France de Development or AFD to further strengthen its capacity to foster financial inclusion in the country. In a virtual press briefing, BSP Governor Benjamin Diokno said the country received a 700,000 euro grant or around 41 million pesos from the French organization. The grant will fund a technical assistance program to support BSP's effort to leverage on technology for the effective regulation of digital finance, promote digital financial literacy of rural and women-owned businesses, and contribute to the public policy dialogue on agricultural assistance or agricultural insurance. The grant also complements the Inclusive Finance Development Program or IFDP, a program which AFD has been supporting since 2019 alongside the Asian Development Bank or ADB through a 100 million euro sovereign policy-based loan to the Philippines. The IFDP contributes to the overall objective of inclusive growth and sustainable development in the country by supporting financial inclusion efforts, especially those from low-income and rural sectors. Meanwhile, France and the United Kingdom are seeking the support of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, to protect at least 30% of the world's terrestrial and marine habitat by 2030 amidst the unprecedented rate of biodiversity loss facing the planet. The call was made during a virtual roundtable called Better Understanding of the 30 by 30 Target, Protected and Reserved Area Management, organized jointly by the British Embassy Manila, the Embassy of the France to the Philippines, and the Micronesia and the ASEAN Center for Biodiversity last September 9. The target seeks to protect at least 30% of Earth's lands and at least 30% of the global ocean by 2030 in order to slow the loss of habitats, which threatens the existence at least 1 million plant and animal species all over the world. ASEAN, for its part, said it would support the target, but cited the importance of cooperation and adequate financing to achieve the global goal.
The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or OECD, launched the OECD Competition Assessment Reviews Logistics Sector in ASEAN. The reports identified legislative and regulatory issues in the bloc's logistics services sector that would hinder it from reaching its full potential. The reports provided robust, pragmatic, non-binding policy recommendations to ASEAN governments to help the industry boost overall growth and expedite the recovery from the negative economic impact of the COVID pandemic. Take a look.
Hello, and welcome to this short presentation of this project on fostering competition in ASEAN. I'm Ruben Maximiano, a senior competition expert at the OECD. The OECD, in cooperation with the ASEAN Secretariat, has spent the past 3 years working on this major competition initiative, which has been focused on the competition assessment of ASEAN's logistics industry. During that time, we've been working closely together with our colleagues at all 10 ASEAN competition authorities, as well as other branches of government. Our aim has been to improve logistics and transportation, the lifeblood of trade in this hugely important part of the global economy. We know that trade promotes economic growth, and that growth leads to greater prosperity for all, because efficient trade helps to reduce prices, and that puts more money in people's pockets to buy the products they need. But that can happen only if markets are working well, and that's the understanding from which our work on fostering competition in ASEAN began. With funding from the UK government, we studied ASEAN's logistics markets. We looked at more than 700 laws and regulations in those markets, and we came up with a wide range of recommendations to make those markets work better. At the heart of all of our work is leveling the playing field, creating fair markets where efficiency is encouraged. A level playing field is important even in the best of times. But now, as ASEAN and the rest of the world grapple with the COVID pandemic, it's more important than ever. This region, like many others, needs a fast recovery, and that means encouraging and ensuring policies are in place to promote competition in the region's logistics industry. In other words, helping businesses get their goods to market, removing expensive inefficiencies, obstacles and monopolies, and getting economies moving again. This is where competition policy becomes part of the fight back against the crisis and its economic impact. A crisis can present us with a chance to change, to do things differently, because in the hardest of times we have to think differently, to seize the opportunity. And right now, the opportunity is clear. And it's not a big-ticket, expensive scheme involving more roads and more railways. It's not a money-intensive mega project that may be difficult to finance, even if those, of course, can be very important. It's about taking the resources and assets we already have and using them better, using them smarter. It's an almost zero-cost regulatory refresh that will free up businesses to do what they do best. Find opportunities and efficiencies that will lower prices for producers and consumers, and create wealth, jobs and growth across the entire economy. And as the logistics industry taps those opportunities, it will create connections and cost savings, not just in individual ASEAN countries, but across ASEAN as a whole, so that benefits are shared across borders. In ASEAN, our research found that those benefits will really stack up. Not only is it a zero-cost enterprise, but we found that adopting the recommendations the OECD makes in fostering competition in ASEAN will effectively give ASEAN's economy a cash injection of at least $4.5 billion a year. And even that estimate is probably on the low side, because it doesn't include the benefits of jobs growth, greater opportunities for SMEs, and more efficient, lower-cost trade between ASEAN member states. And like so much, when it comes to solid, pro-competitive market regulation, all of these benefits compound and reinforce one another, delivering growth, jobs and wealth in a self-sustaining cycle that will propel ASEAN forward and drive development. And as the members of ASEAN acquire know-how through watching each other's progress, that momentum will continue. Because at the end of the day, creating competition also means fostering learning, trade, and that's what binds ASEAN's fortunes together. I'm Ruben Maximiano, and thank you for watching.
Don't go away, ASEAN in Focus will be back after this short break.
Factual.
We have to defeat the virus everywhere.
Timely information. Balanced, not only in the country, but also abroad.
I'm certain of one thing.
Interviews that people need to know. Know the important updates in Asia in ASEAN in Focus. Track the latest stories in the provinces in Aguila Provincia. Tune into Mata ng Aguila, the evening primetime news program of Net25. Balanced and objective, Mata ng Aguila covers national and international issues, tackles news on business, health, science and technology, entertainment, sports and human interest features, and current events. And Eagle News International delivers the latest global reports, impartial, accessible, and up-to-date. It brings to fore EBC's rich international scope and access to valuable information streams.
Well, thank you to explaining our health outdoor.
Catch these programs on Net25. You can also watch our news programs through eaglenews.ph and Eagle News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Posibleng palawigin ni Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte ang Visiting Forces Agreement. Tumaas pa ang reproduction number ng COVID-19.
Isinagawa ang turnover ng Lingap Goodie Bag sa San Miguel, Bulacan.
Ang maghahayag ng official statement ay ang pamilya.
Hindi lang sa aspetong pang-espiritual hinahangaan ng Iglesia ni Cristo.
Mapaunlad ang kabuhayan ng mga differently abled person.
Bukod sa pagtaguyod ng wika at kulturang Pinoy,
inaasahang bababa pa ang bilang ng mga Pinoy na walang trabaho.
Sumusunod sa mga alituntuning ipinatutupad ng gobyerno bilang pag-iingat sa COVID-19.
Isa sa naging dahilan ng pagtaas ng tubig dito noong mga nakaraang araw.
Handa ng Senado at Kamara na magpasa ng mga panukalang batas.
Umunlad ang peace and order sa bansa sa panahon ng panunungkulan ni Pangulong Duterte.
May ilang nagkaroon ng Delta variant ng COVID-19 ang nabakunahan na. Magandang gabi, Pilipinas.
Welcome back. Two fluffy white terriers wearing tartan berets pan quietly as their owner waves a treat and snaps a photo for dogs' tens of thousands of followers in Instagram. They are among a growing number of pet influencers on social media in Singapore, a trend fueled by a rise in online shopping and pet ownership during the coronavirus pandemic. Take a look.
The appeal of Sasha is, I think, it's her eyes and her smile. Her eyes really sparkle on most of her photos, and most importantly, the caption as well. It's really in sync with how she actually posed for that photo. It looks like as if she's talking to you. I started Instagram was just to keep a blog of her daily activities. Because she was really cute in some way and just wanted to capture those moments. And she started growing, attracting a lot of people following her. So we thought, okay, that's quite fun. And then we started taking pictures of her with some costumes, some accessories.
I think pet influencers generally has an advantage because we just love pets, right? They generate all these positive feelings. They are cute. You can't hate them, right? They're just cute.
We didn't intend to be any influencer. Like I said, we just wanted to do a daily blog of her, capturing some precious moments of her beautiful face and her activities, because life is short for dogs, right?
I think there was this natural push towards online sales, online platform like marketplaces and all, and with all these marketplaces being extremely aggressive with how they are approaching consumers, a lot of brands are starting to recognize that it's important to have digital presence. And with that, especially for pet food companies, they would just naturally look for pet influencers to talk about their products to drive sales or traffic or awareness. So that's where we come into play.
Her said she is selective about which products they promote, rejecting offers from some dog food brands she feels don't meet her standards. Her own pets enjoy a diet of handmade meals.
In other animal news, Singapore Zoo revealed the gender of its 4-week-old baby panda, the first cub to be born in the city-state. During his father's during his father Kaikai's 14th birthday celebration. The giant panda enthusiastically tore into candles and presents filled with hay and food pellets before pulling on a piñata. Take a look. Meanwhile, dozens of critically endangered orangutans in Malaysia have been tested for the coronavirus, with vets in protective suits undertaking the tricky task of giving the apes nasal swabs. Take a look. Now, the antigen tests on 30 of the red-haired creatures in Sabah State on Borneo Island were conducted last Tuesday, and they all came back negative according to wildlife officials. They were the first virus tests on orangutans in the Southeast Asian country and were ordered after staff at a rehabilitation center and wildlife park became infected. Bornean orangutans are classified as critically endangered by the protection group, the International Union for Conservation of Nature. Their populations have declined by more than 50% over the past 60 years, according to the WWF, as the animal's forest habitat has been progressively cut down to make way for agricultural plantations. Borneo is shared between Malaysia, Indonesia, and Brunei.
A retired Boeing passenger jet has been hauled to the top of seaside cliff in Bali to lure tourists to Indonesia's coronavirus-hit holiday island. More than a dozen of workers used cranes to assemble parts of a Boeing 737 on a cliff near the Nyang Nyang beach this week. Felix Demin, the plane's new owner, is planning to convert the aircraft into tourist accommodation and expects it will become a popular photography spot. Watch this.
Because of COVID was struggle, the Bali, no tourists, it was locked down for almost 2 years now. And I will make an icon for and showing the hope the tourists will back here in Bali. And I always think a little bit outside of the box and was see this plane was parking on Pandawa already December on the pieces, and they plan to sell it to China. And I was thinking, oh, I want to these planes continue to be served to people in Bali. Yeah, and thinking what the location it can be. Plane to bring, it was not that long, it's about 1 week, but it was 2 months preparation for this. Get all the permits for pass through all the roads, all the banjars and villages, about the agreement from the police for we can do it, and they escort us as well. All the permits to be done, and it's a lot of...
And as always, thank you very much, Esther, for joining me today and keeping me company. You have a great and safe weekend. Enjoy your weekend.
Same to you, Alma, and it's always my pleasure. But before I go, special shout out to our viewers, especially Brother Ariel Ramos and Brother Vilen Regalado. And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. And stay updated about the ASEAN region. From Land of Smiles, this is Esther Adanga, and we live in interesting times.
A special shout out to Brother Will, and thank you always for your support po. And thank you for joining us. We'll see you back next week. Have a safe weekend, everyone. We'll see you back here, same time, same place. I'm Alma Angeles, and we live in interesting times.
Be my lady. Just forget the past. It's time to mend your broken heart. Ikaw na lang ang siya.